Hey everybody, Jodi Tate here, Blue Door Group, with some of my teammates, Angela, Lorraine, and Kim, and we look for any opportunity these days just to be able to get together and just kind of be social with one another. And we happened to be in the office here and decided we wanted to share our thoughts with you about Memorial Day, just kind of what it means to us. So just very spontaneously and casually talk about that. And for me, the first thing before we talk kind of, you know, the real meaning of Memorial Day, which is certainly the focus of the holiday. But, you know, I always remember my mother saying, you know, we do not wear white shoes or, you know, white hat or anything until Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. And then you quit wearing that white on Labor Day.
That's
you know?
Right. That's correct.
So that was that rule of thumb, and I can remember that just clear as day.
That's right.
You know, that was a fashion faux pas.
And I taught that to my daughter.
That's right. So that was kind of the first thing that I thought about and remembered when we were talking about Memorial Day. But anybody else, you got memories about Memorial Day or what it means?
I know, I think I'm probably the only one in the group that was totally involved in the Vietnam action or war, and that was something that during college was, you know, you had these kids that were against it, and it was just, I mean, we had friends who died during it, and they were 18 years old, and I think about that. And when my husband and I went to look at the memorial after it was built, it was really sad all over again, because we were able to see the names of our friends. And so I think when Memorial Day comes around and Labor Day, I think about them, and I think about what they had to go through. And so that's one of the things that I do. And I know you were mentioning about the actual meaning. I'd like you to share that, if you would. Again.
Well, you know, I'm not sure that a lot of people, because people think Memorial Day is a time where we all just have picnics and
summer begins.
Yes,
summer begins.
Yes. But really, Memorial Day was 100 years ago, was to honor those that had died serving. Where Veterans Day honors all people alive and deceased that had served. So it's really very much a focus on those that have passed away as a result of serving. Mm-hmm. But also, when it very first originated, it was called Decoration Day, not Memorial Day. And Decoration Day was because they would decorate the gravestones for those that had died during their fighting or whatever the war was that they were in. So interesting that that's what that was called then. Right. And you know, you don't ever want it to be so totally somber, right? But it's important, I think, to at least, you've got to honor that. And like you talking about the memorial for Vietnam and how emotional that was for you to be able to go and see that and for it to be so real.
Correct, that's correct.
I think that you kind of have to talk about that and think about that.
I guess I remember it only because that was really the first thing that the action that the United States was involved with that I just remember so vividly. And so I always put flags out on Memorial Day, where a lot of other agents would put them out on Labor Day. Yeah, but I had this connection to Memorial Day for some reason. So I thought it was really very important that, you know, that I do that. That was my own personal gesture.
You bet.
And cemeteries were very beautiful.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see why they called it.
That's another thing I read, that there was a significance to the red poppy flower.
Yes.
And I guess because whenever this all started, the red poppy flower would be so pretty and so vibrant and alive on these tombstones. So they would use that as a
We also put
decoration.
them on our lapels.
Yeah, wouldn't that be
Remember
great?
They, give them
Oh,
out,
yeah.
they gave them out, and we put them on our lapels.
We would
of
go
our
to the
suits.
grocery store and
And
they'd
they
be sent-
passing them out, yes.
And
That
it
was,
was a fundraiser for VFW, things like that, but even if we didn't have a grocery store trip planned, my mother and I always went.
That's right, you
Yeah.
told me that,
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
remembered that
Had
was
to wear
an
it in our
annual trip.
Buttonhole, yes. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I think we do associate it a lot with family and summer and all of that, but I do think that it's important to recognize the original meaning of the holiday. One other thing I looked at too that I thought was interesting was, even though the holiday started over 100 years ago, it really wasn't, the birthplace of the holiday wasn't designated until 1967. And President Johnson designated Waterloo, New York as the birthplace for Memorial Day as a holiday, even though it had been going on in many different cities or towns.
He chose that location.
Yeah. But there's definitely some good history there with it. And for a lot of folks, I think about my niece and nephew who really, this isn't something that probably means a whole lot to them. So I think it's nice to be able to maybe share with people that are a lot younger why this is something that we need to think about.
It's kind of interesting. They're going to remember, possibly COVID.
Yes.
But, and as things progress, I find that, I don't know, I just feel like Memorial Day and Labor Day are, other than our clothing, I found that those to be important days, not only to me, but to so many people, Do you have something, Kim, that you?
Going back to the poppies, I'm from Pilot Mountain and we only had 2 stoplights in the town at the time when I was growing up. So the older men were out there with their buckets on the intersection of Key Street and Main Street, because that's like the only main intersection with a stoplight, and that's where they could stop and people could pay for give them $1 for a poppy.
For a poppy?
So we would always make it a point to make that route before we go to the pool to get our poppy before we go to the pool and everything. But being younger, I think just growing up, I did see Memorial Day as like, ooh, the pool cookouts and everything. But as you get older and your friends are hitting that 18 age and they're getting into the military and becoming in the Army and going overseas, you start kind of realizing like how special it is, and just reflecting on like they're risking their lives so that we can go to the beach or be with our families and stuff like that. So I guess it's just like a day for reflection as well.
Right.
I think that's a great way to kind of wrap it up with, as far as meaning is that it is all about reflecting that sacrifice that ultimately was made.
By many people.
I read it 3 o'clock on Monday is a time.
Yes,
to
for
pause
where I read that too.
Yeah.
I wonder why they chose 3 o'clock, maybe it's midday. I don't know.
Nice to see some
Yeah, I don't know.
significance to it, but
It's interesting
just
when
stop
you do
the cookouts
research.
and all that, and just stop and reflect on what.
Kind of have a moment of silence.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of neat,
That
wouldn't
would be
it? To
yes,
do that.
I think actually the realtors should be doing that, our association should be doing that.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for taking a few minutes to meet and just talk about Memorial Day, and I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend with their families and takes a few minutes to honor those that have passed away, that have served, and we wish you all the very best.